Finally, I get to do this review. Oh, yeah! The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. The Hobbit is my most looked forward to movie since I heard it was coming out like 6 or 7 years ago. And I really was hoping that they would make another Lord of the Rings type movie for The Hobbit. And did they live up to that? No. Not even close. The Hobbit is a kid's book, and the movie definitely plays along the same lines. It's definitely more of a kids type movie. It's not as violent. The violence in it is borderline PG-13, like barely. I mean, really, it's not very violent. There's some gross things in it, but you know, in Lord of the Rings, it was just like all-out slaughter fest, and it made it really, it almost got an R rating, and it made it really cool. This one, I mean, it's a very low PG-13 rating, and it's just kind of like, you know, it lost a little bit of the feel there. There's some good things and some bad things about this movie. First off, the good. Bilbo Baggins is played by Martin Freeman. Freeman kills it as Bilbo. I mean, kills it. He is just like Bilbo, or at least just like a Hobbit. Plays it marvelously. 2, Thorin Oakenshield. Thorin was really good. I liked the character. At first, you're kind of like, he looks too human, but not in the movie. He's definitely a dwarf, and he acts it very well. 3 is Gollum. Okay, Gollum's character in this movie, played by Andy Serkis as always, is excellent. And there's a lot more facial expressions in the Riddles in the Dark sequence than there are, like, previously with Gollum. Because usually Gollum, you know, when he talks to himself, it's kind of like, you know, there's not that much facial expression. This one, he, like, kind of goes like, and he, like, makes his mouth move funny because he's, like, thinking about the riddle, and it's a really funny scene. Best scene of the movie, without a doubt, is the Riddle in the Dark sequence. Another good thing is the cinematography. As always, the cinematography is excellent in Lord of the Rings. Was it as good as Lord of the Rings? No. And I'm going to try not comparing this to Lord of the Rings that much, but in things like cinematography, yeah, it can be compared. But so it wasn't as good, cinematography-wise. Some shots were still amazing, as always, but there were some shots where it's all CGI cinematography, so it wasn't the same as it was in Lord of the Rings. There's some other good things. I mean, when Galadriel came on the scene, because she's in it for just a little bit, she is awesome. I don't know why I really liked her in this movie, but her presence in this movie was powerful, and I really liked it. I liked the dragon, Smaug. You don't see the dragon, but you see, at the very beginning of the movie, they tell a backstory of how Smaug took over the mountain, and he is huge. I mean, huge. I think the second and third movie are going to show how big Smaug really is, and it's going to be awesome. Now for the things I didn't like. There are a lot of them. The first hour and a half of this movie are snail-paced slow. I'll rephrase that. The first 20 minutes are good. Then, for another hour, it is so slow. And it's not just like slow like talking. They're like running around and they're getting chased by orcs, and it's still just like boring slow. And you really don't care. So that was a real big bummer. The CGI, there's way too much CGI in this movie. I had a big issue with it. The main goblin, Azog the Goblin, he's all completely CGI. Why didn't they do it like Lurtz in the Fellowship of the Ring and make this guy really menacing? I didn't care for this bad guy at all. I thought he was dorky. And there were some times like the King Goblin, who's huge and ugly, it made sense that he was a, you know, CGI, because he has to talk, and you can't really have them talk right if they're not CGI when they're that big. And then you have the trolls, and they're very CGI and dorky, and I just didn't like the character. This whole movie is very, like I say, very kid-oriented, and it's funny, but it's just like lighthearted that wouldn't be in Lord of the Rings at all. The 3D, I forgot, is really good. Really good 3D. So I highly recommend seeing it in 3D. But the biggest issue I had with this movie is Radagast the Brown. As everybody has said, Radagast is the most annoying character in the movie. He is kind of the Jar Jar Binks of the Lord of the Rings movies. Now, he's not as bad because he's only in it for like this long. But that long that he's in it is awful. And it's just like, why did they even have him in it? Like, they didn't even need him. I hope he's not in the next 2 very much. I was very disappointed with this movie overall because of how slow it was. It really didn't engage you until about an hour into the movie. I definitely think the second and third one are going to be really good, though, because if you look at the book, the really dorky stuff of the book is in the first half, and so it's kind of over now. So it's, okay, we're getting into Mirkwood, let's go from there kind of deal. And so I'm really excited for that, and I think it'll be good. Not as good as Lord of the Rings, but I'm not going to compare the two anymore because they're completely different movies. You cannot even compare. This one, maybe a couple Academy Awards for nominations. It won't win for Best Special Effects. They weren't that great. They were good, not spectacular. Cinematography, it was nothing new, and it wasn't as good as Lord of the Rings. So, and those are literally the only two that I could think of that it should. And soundtrack. Oh, soundtrack, it maybe should win. It was excellent soundtrack. Other than that, nothing. So overall, I was definitely disappointed with the movie. I'm not going to give it a rating because it's really impossible to give this kind of movie a rating because I like it because I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, but I still didn't like it as a movie. So it's, I don't know. And I'm going to go see it in 48 frames per second, hopefully tomorrow. If not, I might not get to see it in 48 frames IMAX 3D. So we'll see. I'll probably come out with a longer review, spoiler-filled, later on. So overall, though, I definitely say watch it. It's definitely worth watching, but don't expect to be knocked away by anything like Lord of the Rings, because it wasn't. But at least I got some posters out of the deal. If you go to IMAX or 3D, I believe, you get like a Frodo or Bilbo picture, you get a Gollum poster, you get a Thorin Oakenshield poster, and you get a Gandalf poster. So, hey, at least I got something out of it. Sorry it took so long to get my Lord of the Rings reviews out and that they were so long. I couldn't cover those movies without being long. And so, hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know which movie you want me to do next, because I'm out of movies to do, technically. I can pick one, but I prefer when you guys suggest them. So, until next time, peace.